Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Gibson Show ahead of CL playoffs, and I'm joined once again by Caneo from Wylde. Caneo, how's things today?
I'm doing great. Absolutely hyped for the playoffs and in general also to watch the major, and just a great time for Siege.
Yeah, I bet you're hyped. You know, last time we spoke there was a little conversation about where you could potentially come in the group and what kind of implications that would have to the playoffs. Sure, you kind of just took that out of the equation. You went flawless the second weekend. Your group finished very differently in the second weekend to how people thought it might have after the first weekend.
Yeah, it did. It was at the first weekend. It was, in my opinion, it was just Ascent and our fault to play the best map of Job Seekers. We didn't know that like we can translate their Coalesce because they have the exact same map pool as Coalesce has, and we didn't know we could do that because we thought they changed up stuff but they didn't. And then in the second week, just Coalesce and us didn't do not Coalesce, Ascent and us didn't do the same mistake twice and put them on a map where both of us are good, and then we beaten them. It's it's even more unfortunate than that they lost to 86. And yeah,
86's only win of the whole CL as well. I'm sure it's heartbreaking one for the rest of that Job Seekers roster to take, but you know, you got to move on. We've got our teams for the playoffs now. And before we kind of touch on the playoffs, I want to talk a bit about your career again. So last time we spoke, we talked about how the Gamers 8 event and a couple of play days of GSA kind of announced you to the world of Siege. People got to see you for the first time. But for those who maybe haven't seen a lot of you yet, why don't you tell us how your career in Siege kind of started and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, okay, sure. All right. I started playing the game in the beta, but on PS4.
Oh.
And then there I was like just casually playing with some classmates for like 5 years, I'm pretty sure. And then 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, I moved to PC with the thought of getting into competitive play. Then I just was 1 year not just playing, I was just playing ranked and the road to a FOC hub, I think. Just getting used to mouse and keyboard more or like, and then 1 year ago I really started playing comp. I played last year the second split of Nordic, got lost place. And then I was looking for team again, and I joined the Polish team, which was, at the time when I joined, it was Project AE, but which then turned into Anonimo Esports. And there we played the Polish Esports Cup. There we got second place first time, and then we went on a boot camp. And on the boot camp, we played the first Six Invitation qualifier. And in the Six Invitation qualifier, we've beaten the current Ascent lineup back in the day with Likeyfak and Zeosh and all those players. Also Eminem in the first round. Then I think Ovation, and then we played Wylde. And we lost 8-6, I'm pretty sure, to Wylde. But I was playing very good, and they knew then that I was a decent player, and I was German speaking. So when they dropped Daya and Toby, they contacted me and trialed me. And like not even after 3 days of trialing, they wanted to pick me and Corey up. And that's ever since. Then actually, the story is a bit longer. Than I joined Wylde. I had a lot of confidence issues, I would say, at the beginning. I didn't, because I was from scrimming all those T3 teams and T4 teams to instantly only scrimming T1 teams in their prime, because we scrimmed them before Invitational, like Team Empire, Prime, BDS and stuff, everyone. And I lost a lot of gunfights and I lost my confidence, and I played very bad for like 3 months. And then the Aces was also a free agent, so we picked up Aces with the thought that I can learn from them. And that's what I did. And then it happened for Gamers 8. BZ couldn't travel, and I then played.
Yeah, it's kind of it was unlucky for BZ not to be able to play, but for you, it's kind of opened up so many doors in your career now. And at what point did it kind of tick for you that you had the talent to go pro in Siege? Like, was it something you kind of always knew deep down, or was there this moment when maybe you were playing and maybe it was a road to FPLC, or maybe it was playing Nordics, or, as you said, the Polish Cup, Was there any point in particular where you kind of thought, yeah, I can do this?
It was, in my opinion, it was after Gamers 8.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first
That
moment where
late?
I was like, yeah, that late, where I was like, all right, I could actually make it as a pro.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, before that, I wasn't sure because I still had to. No, I was just not sure because I've never played a real official against a good team. Like the only official I played was against Eminem, and that was also the only game they lost in that time. But yeah, that was like Gamers 8 was probably the first time at the time where I realized I could make it.
And has that kind of really driven you now to achieve as much as you can? Because at the end of the day, as I said, most people realized who you were in that game against Liquid. That was the moment I think most people kind of discovered who you were as a player. So are you more motivated now than ever, or is it still kind of we're going to take it month by month, stage by stage, and just keep getting better?
Yeah, I just wanted to be honest. I just want to get the best out of the CL with the team and see where we can end up, and then just always try my best and play as good as possible. Because there is not really a way as a team to make it into Pro League anymore, unfortunately.
So basically what you're saying is, for everyone who doesn't know you and is watching this video, whenever you're a massive star, maybe 3-4 years from now in the world of competitive esports, I can say, I knew Caneo way back when he kicked off and kicked off on his days with Wylde. But look, it was cool to get to know your career and your past, but let's talk a little bit about the present now and talk about the CL draw for the bracket. So obviously it's double elimination, and as you can see on your screen now, we have that bracket up. So first off, we'll kick off with your game against LAN Party Hotel. Obviously, you're on the bottom half of the upper bracket where you're playing LAN Party Hotel, who were incredible. Makers, who some people say after groups are the strongest team in all CL. And the J-Ling side, which I think a lot of teams keep underestimating and they keep proving people wrong. So we'll kick off with your game against LAN Party Hotel. What are your thoughts on them going into the weekend? Because obviously Group B turned out to be a better group than people would have expected. And with your experience playing, you'll know a lot of people on the from the Polish scene, and then obviously that became the V4. What are your thoughts on them?
Seriously, don't really know what to think about them because at the end of the day, they didn't even top their group, and in my opinion, B was the weakest group. So they're a big question mark to me because they also only played like 3 maps or something in the whole of 6 games. They played 3 maps, and now on playoffs when it's a best of 3, a lot of teams gonna be exposed on other maps, and then you're really gonna see on how good they really are. Because we've seen it with job seekers. When you can play 1 or 2 maps and you keep playing them, then obviously you're going to play good. But when you're now then going to go on maps which you haven't shown, then you will really see on how good they are. And in my opinion, a lot of people underestimate them. And I'm pretty sure it will be a very good best of 3 against them.
So now that we're talking about best of 3s, then which teams inside of playoffs do you think are more dangerous in a best of 3 compared to a best of 1? Like, I know you would fancy your, Wylde's chances in best of 3s, but are there any
Makers 10-star?
Yeah, the 3.
Okay.
So let's go through the bracket then. Death Row against Ascend, but pretty much an all French battle at the very start. I'm sure both of those teams would have liked to have avoided that as soon as possible. Who do you have winning that one?
I have Ascend winning that one.
Okay, and then
Ascend is just, in my opinion, they have such good players, and they're honestly on their other level, those players, and they just need to fix up 1 or 2 things, and then they can be an insane team. So definitely Ascend.
Right, and then they play the winners of Dunlimited 10-star. Who's your shout in that one? I think I already know, though.
Yeah, it's 10-star, my boys.
So that would leave a Ascend 10-star quarter-final in the upper bracket. Who do you have winning that one?
Honestly, I don't know. Because Ascend has a similar map pool to 10-star. Both of them play like the same maps. Both of them have incredible players, a lot of experience also. And I would say it's a 10-star win, just because of the experience in best of 3s.
Perfect. So 10 star go through the semis in the upper bracket. Let's look at your half of the bracket then. And obviously you're going to be biased in this one, and that's okay. You know, you play for Wylde. Your game against Lamb Party Hotel. I'm assuming you think you're going to get through them.
Yes, I'm thinking, I'm confident that we will get through that, but it will be very hard. It will be very difficult because they look like a very aggressive team, a structured team, but also a team which takes a lot of gunfights. And you have seen in the past that we as a team struggle against teams which are fast and also taking a lot of gunfights and stuff. So it will be for sure an exciting match.
And then Makers Jailings. Who do you have coming out of that one?
I go with the underdog. I go with Jailings.
Ooh,
They look like a good. Jailings look like a very good team.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think Quick will definitely like hearing that as well.
Yeah, after Quick was roasting Wylde, I'm nice to him. I'm nice to him.
Yeah.
I believe in him.
Yeah, and so that means you'd be playing Jailings in the quarter, and that matchup, I'm guessing you back yourself again to make it through to the semi of the upper bracket.
Yeah, Quick doesn't stand a chance.
Perfect. So then a little game between you guys and 10 star in the semi. Based on everything you know right now, who do you have coming out of that one?
Us.
Like it. So you're straight through to the upper bracket final. And look, we're not going to go through all the way through the lower bracket then, but out of all the teams that are there, who do you fancy then to make it through to the final from that lower bracket?
I'm pretty sure it's either going to be it's a Makers. Makers going to make a lower bracket run.
I like it. So Wylde Makers, you heard it here first, guys. So, you know, this is the good one because this is the bit we can clip. If you get it wrong, we can say, Caneo was wrong. But if you're right, you can kind of, scratch your beard and say, hey, guys, I was on to something all along. So, first off, it is next week. Challenger League kicks off. So I'm going to say best of luck to you in that because obviously Wylde have got themselves a lot of fans and so do you. And I think you could argue, based on the way the weekends went, would you say that the best 8 teams over the 2 weekends are the teams that made it through?
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. So one last little thing I want to touch on, Caneo, before we move on, is the major. So we're going to just move off of the CL, and we'll talk a little bit about upcoming major now as well, coming up in Sweden. And first off, before we even talk about the groups, the European teams that made it through, anything shock you about which European teams made it through, or any team that you think you're surprised didn't make it?
I'm not surprised that those teams which made it. I was hoping for Navi to make it, but at the end of the day, I'm not surprised. Like those, also before the stage, if you looked at the lineups, the only surprise I would say is Heroic actually, because they did 2 big roster moves. And then instantly making major with 2 big roster moves is something you can be proud of, and that's for sure something which surprised me. But otherwise, the other 3 teams I expected pretty much.
And who do you think's the strongest EU team going into the major?
I will say it's either it's Wolves. It's Wolves. It's Wolves, definitely.
Yeah, I think if you were to ask me the same question based on the season, I'd say it's BDS or Wolves as well. I think what BDS have that Wolves don't is probably, the fact you've got EFAC and Shaiko now. They're a very hard team to shut down if you give them any momentum whatsoever. So we'll go through the groups and we'll see who you have making it out. So Group A, you've got Cyclops, Sonics, M&M, and Black Dragons. Who do you have making it out of that one?
So this is difficult because I don't really know on how good APAC is. And I also don't know on how good the Black Dragons is because they've never played internationally. Like this lineup has never played internationally. And so I'll go just with Sonics for sure, like Sonics first seed, and then M&M on a second seed. Hope they don't get the 10 a.m. games.
Well, they've already been told by the Siege Twitter that they're getting the 10 a.m. games, so it's... But they did break the curse. They did finally get a win, even though I think at the time the win didn't really mean anything, but they got it. So, Group B, we've got TSM, your former, your current SI champs, Liquid, Sandbox, and Heroic. Who do you have making it out of that one? Because that's... Obviously, you know a little bit about Liquid, that insider knowledge.
Yeah, well, I'm very curious on how good Liquid is with the new lineup. I would say TSM make it out because TSM is just on another form. It's actually incredible on how good they are. With 2 roster moves they made.
Yeah.
Just insane. And then it's either I'm gonna say Liquid because they've proven themselves a lot more on LAN.
Mm-hmm.
And Heroic, what I've seen on NPL LAN as example, has not really convinced me on how their players play on LAN.
Yeah.
And so I would go with TSM and Liquid.
Perfect. Group C, then we've got another interesting one because you've got SSG, another team that you know a lot about. You've BD, they've also won SI. You've BDS in there as well, along with W7M and Fury. What are your thoughts on that group?
So I have to say Fury is I'm gonna put out as lost because I've never seen them playing. They got second on Apex South, and that's also they made it very close. So then on third place, it's actually gonna be W7M. Second is VDS and first is SSG.
Okay, and then last but not least, we've got the Wolf Pack with Wolves and Direwolves, along with FaZe and Mirage. It's you didn't never think you'd have to, go in depth, but would it be when you're talking about Wolves? But what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm hyped to see how Mirage will do in international competition. Because in an 8 they looked strong, but on how good they are going to be internationally, that's going to be a question mark. I would say it's first place FaZe Clan, and second place Wolves, the European Wolves.
Okay, so you've only got you've got one EU team not making it though. Heroic's the only one that you don't think's going to make it out of groups.
Yeah, it's not because I don't think that they are good or bad or good or anything. It's just that I think the other 2 teams in their group are just also favorites to win it all. So, and they got a very tough group.
Yeah, perfect.
I would say they would make it out of Group A and B. They would also make it for sure, but I just don't think they would make it out of Group C. Also, when I love my boy Murat, I'll have to let him down.
He is a bit of a Twitter king. Let's be real. We love a bit of Murat here.
Is.
So
he is.
That kind of concludes our little talk about the major. I'm not going to ask you who's going to win just yet because it's very hard to know. You really don't know until you see all the players playing together on the server. So before we wrap up, last question for you is, what players in EU do you kind of look up to at the tier 1 level now? Because obviously you're hoping to make that jump yourself to be a tier 1 player full-time in esports. Which players do you admire and which ones do you think you kind of play most like?
Well, with which player I like my play style, which is similar to, I would go with. Who would I go? I would probably go with Nathan from Navi. I'm pretty sure we have similar playstyle and roles also, and players admired or not really any.
Yeah,
which I admire. I see myself on the same level as them, and I just don't admire anyone. I'd say like that.
No, I like it. I like the confidence. Well, Caneo, anything else you want to say before we wrap up ahead of CL? Any of the other teams?
People shouldn't take predictions too serious. I've seen too many people crying about predictions on Twitter. It's actually horrible. Why do you care so much about predictions? It's an opinion from another person.
Yeah, and look, we're more often than not we get predictions wrong. I think
exactly.
The main thing is it's best of 3s, so you would argue the best teams should win. Whatever team wins CL will deserve to get there because you got to get through everybody.
Exactly. You can't say they were lucky or something. At the end of the day, you need to win best of 3s in the grand final or best of 5. So the best team is for sure going to win, and not a lucky team or a map which you were lucky or stuff. It's going to win. It's just the best team which is going to win.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Caneo. It was a pleasure talking to you. If you guys do want to tune into CL, it kicks off this Monday on the official Rainbow Six channel. Wylde's first game will, of course, be on Thursday, where they are taking on LAN Party Hotel. So, Caneo, best of luck in that one, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Hopefully we talk again soon.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.